Adelphia was once one of the biggest cable companies in America. To investors, it looked like a fast-growing success story. It seemed powerful, ambitious, and stable. But behind that image, something was badly wrong. This was not just a company with too much debt. Adelphia was hiding serious financial risk tied to co-borrowing arrangements and relationships connected to the founding Rigas family. What looked like growth on the outside was becoming danger underneath. At the center of the scandal was debt that investors were not seeing clearly enough. Regulators later said Adelphia excluded about $1.6 billion of co-borrowing debt from its balance sheet. In simple terms, the company had major obligations that made it look much healthier than it really was. And that is what made the fraud so serious. A company can appear strong when the full burden is hidden. It can look stable, successful, and expanding even while the structure underneath is getting weaker. But Adelphia was not just an accounting story. Investigators described a wider pattern of misleading disclosures, related party transactions, self-dealing, and the use of company resources for the benefit of family insiders. This was not just sloppy reporting. It was a failure of governance and control. That is why Adelphia became such an important corporate collapse case. The danger was not only in the numbers, it was in the culture around those numbers. The company was publicly traded, but the internal behavior increasingly looked shaped by family power and weak boundaries. This is where the psychology matters. In a company dominated by a founding family, success can create protection. People trust the name. They trust the history. They trust the growth story. And once that trust becomes automatic, hard questions often come too late. Adelphia kept projecting strength while the underlying risk kept building. That is one of the scariest patterns in corporate failure. A company does not need to look broken right before it breaks. Sometimes it looks stable almost until the very end. In 2002, the scandal exploded into public view. Regulators accused Adelphia of widespread financial fraud. The company filed for bankruptcy, and its name became one of the defining fraud stories of the early 2000s. The consequences were severe. John Rigas and Timothy Rigas were convicted. Prison sentences followed. Adelphia did not survive in its original form. Its assets were eventually sold in bankruptcy-era deals involving Time Warner and Comcast. Adelphia still matters because it shows how hidden liabilities, weak oversight, and insider control can distort the true condition of a public company for years. It also shows why complexity should never be mistaken for strength. The biggest lesson is simple. If investors cannot clearly understand where the liabilities are, who benefits from related party arrangements, and whether oversight is truly independent, then they do not fully understand the company. Adelphia looked like a cable empire, but underneath, it was a structure loaded with hidden obligations and insider control. And by the time the truth caught up, the damage was already done.